talk me through the challenges that you're facing with your energy bills at the moment.
Morning, Kate. Yeah, I mean, the rising costs, I mean, we're all hearing about it. And the problem with business is that at the minute there was no cap. And now there is a cap coming in, but we need to know what that cap is, where it sits. Many people have got their business energy contracts signed up, but are beginning to drop out of it between now, October and through to December. And our first quote for one of our particular spaces has gone from 14 pence per kilowatt hour up to £1.02 per kilowatt hour. So, and this is a place that uses between 32 and 35,000 kilowatts per hour per month. So it's rising from around about £60,000 a year up to £420,000 a year. Now, obviously, we haven't signed that contract. We are shopping around and looking. But it's such a volatile market at the minute that nobody knows where those prices are sitting and where they're going to be. And if that business price cap does come in, and say it's even only half that, but that still is an increase of 300%. Many businesses are going to struggle with paying that. I mean, listen, I recognise that myself. On a personal basis, I'm in a very different position, but as an industry, it's going to struggle. It's going to be very, very difficult to deal with. If you think of those amazing, lovely local pubs that you know, the gorgeous little city centre bars and restaurants and spaces where the landlord perhaps lives upstairs and maybe is able to eke out a salary of £25,000-30,000 a year, but because they live upstairs. But if their energy increases to another 25, 30, 40, 50, £100,000 a year, then these businesses just become absolutely non-viable. And it's a real shame, because that's the reality for many places in hospitality, that those margins sit on those few percentage points.
Yeah, and I'm guessing it's not just pubs and restaurants like yours, it's the suppliers and it's all the other companies that you're working with as well.
Yeah, that's exactly that. You look at food inflation and the way that that's hitting the industry, and then those business costs, those energy prices are going into butchers, they're going into farmers, they're going into fishmongers and all those sorts of suppliers. And then what happens from there is that is obviously a parallel cost that comes into the business. And what happens then is it's inevitable that those costs are going to have to go up. The prices then go up on the menu, but at the same point, everybody at home is sitting there with with less money in their pockets. So what happens is that, hospitality is one point, but it's the same for everybody. It's the same for retail and manufacturing, that the end cost of an ingredient sits at one point and the money in people's pocket is another. And it feels like it's pulling two polars apart.
So what does the government need to do to help businesses like yours going forward?
So, I mean, obviously, the business price cap coming in is something that's obviously going to be of a great help to many businesses. We just need to know a little bit more of the detail in that. But there's a number of things that the government could do. I think a review and a look at the business rates and the way that they're calculated. Hospitality gets punished quite heavily on business rates. It's calculated on the rateable value of the business, and that business appears to be heavier in a hospitality space than it does perhaps in the majority of the high street. But also frontline tax breaks in terms of VAT, a decrease would be incredibly helpful for many businesses up front. Reducing the amount that you pay in corporation tax is fantastic. That is great, but that only works if there's a business that's making profit. So any help that the government needs to do for hospitality, for manufacturing, should come in as a frontline reduction in VAT that will allow your business to operate, particularly whether that's short term, whether it's a 6-month, 12-month or 18-month opportunity to get through these difficult winter period.
While we've got you, I wondered if you had any sort of tips that you could share with people at home for keeping bills and costs down. As a chef, I'm thinking, obviously, we spend a lot of money on our energy bills in the kitchen, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. We do. You spend a lot of time cooking. I mean, one of the big things that I would say is menu planning. Organise what you're going to do and how you're going to cook it during the week. Like it's not necessarily the most creative every evening that you go in and go, what am I going to cook this evening? But if you've got that structure, you keep your costs down on your food costs. You buy just exactly what you need. Have a look at batch cooking. So if you're going to cook a large portion of bolognese sauce, for example. Do it for 2 weeks worth and freeze it. So the next time all you've got to do is reheat it rather than cook it for the next hour and a half. Little tricks and tips like that, they all go a long, long way. Cooking things in one pan, just the opportunity of trying to do things that are a little bit quicker as well.
Okay, just before I let you go, what's your message to Kwasi Kwarteng with his mini budget tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that you've been listening to many members of the industry that have been sending emails and letters and direct conversation regarding a reduction in VAT and very much a review of business rates. So, we're very hopeful, but it's a critical couple of days for the hospitality industry and many others around.